And welcome back to season 2 of the Big Gay Overalls podcast, which I'm very excited about. We have had a little bit of a holiday period while I recovered from my various viruses, but we are back. It's in the new year, and I am super excited today to launch season 2 with a killer guest, the one and only Izzy Wagner. And if you follow Izzy on the socials, you'll be very familiar. If you don't, then after this episode, I guarantee you're going to want to jump on, follow her on Instagram or TikTok, because her content as a fitness professional in the LGBTQ space is killer. It'll make your day usually. So I thought it was great to have Izzy come on and we can chat into her story and then just see where it takes us. So welcome, my friend.
Thank you very much for having me. Very, very excited to chat. I love chatting, so I'm very excited just to waffle some.
No, it's awesome. And, I first came across your stuff on Instagram. Another account I follow shared something and I thought this can't be a real account. Like, no one says the things that you're saying. And I'm like, went through your feed and I'm like, okay, someone is saying that. And that's awesome. So what I thought we might dig into first, a little bit of your backstory so people can get to know a bit about you. And, if you're comfortable covering it, your journey to your own identity and coming out and owning who you are. Because I know through going through your socials, you had your own struggles with identity and how that impacted on your wellness. So I think that's probably a good place for us to kick into.
Yeah, no, for sure. I mean, typical gay kid growing up was, I felt very isolated, felt very alone, didn't have sort of many friends. So it was always a funny one. Like I knew I liked and was attracted to women from a very young age. Like I make the joke that when I came out my mum's womb, I pretty much knew I liked women. But it pretty much was the case. Like I remember sitting in class in like year 4, year 5 and being like, oh wow, like I think I like women. And I'd always been okay with it, which is quite strange, I guess, for a lot of people. Like it was never something I particularly like panicked about or stressed about and went, oh, I shouldn't feel like this. So I was always quite okay with it, and I knew my parents were going to be okay with it, like, really kind of liberal, really open. So I guess I was quite lucky in that sense. Where I really kind of struggled was with the sort of like growing up stage of things with like school. And I actually wasn't even out in secondary school, but yeah, I was still being called names. I was bullied quite heavily. I was like chased after school. I had it in person. I had it online. Like I literally couldn't escape a bunch of crazy, horrific names I was being called, and I was being like shoved, pushed. Like I'm sure maybe a couple of things like your listeners can even relate to. So I really kind of struggled growing up as a teenager, as a kid. I'd never kind of felt like I did fit in because of all that, isolation I was kind of forced to feel. Because of that, I then massively struggled with my weight, my relationship with food. I would binge eat most weekends. Like I literally remember getting home from like the gym one evening and just kind of scoffing like 4 of the family-sized dairy milk bars. Like I had a terrible relationship with food, terrible self-worth, and just felt completely lost with things. And yeah, like after a bit of kind of like debating in my head about what I wanted to do with it, it was actually my dad who inspired me to kind of, get to the gym, take up running. He'd gone through a really, really big journey with his own health as well. So it felt like the right thing to do. So went on my own journey, lost the weight. I actually ended up traveling to Australia by myself at 18.
Wow.
Freaking loved it. Still wasn't quite comfortable like coming out, even though I was comfortable with my sexuality, which I know is a really, really strange one. But I think when you say it out loud, it then becomes true. And it's almost like right now I have to actually start living this. But yeah, I had a great time traveling Australia, met some really, really cool people. And it was at that point I was like, right, like I've made some changes to my own like body, how I feel about myself. I know I need to help other people do this, because at that point for me, it wasn't just about the way I looked or how much weight I was carrying. It was about how it was making me feel. and so there are all these sort of like connections on, you know, on a much deeper level in regards to why I wanted to make these changes and actually help other people. So yeah, long story short, came back to the UK, did my qualifications, got set up in a gym. Fast forward a couple of years, COVID happened, jumped online, and now I get to do the best thing in the world, which is help queer women with their fitness and their confidence. So yeah, it's a pretty cool gig.
Yeah, it's the best job in the world. I know, like, you know, we've got a similar background in the fitness space. I was a CrossFit coach and owned a CrossFit gym for 7.5 years. And when you particularly see women come through the door who are even too scared to pick up a barbell, and then the first time they push some weight over their head, it might only be 15 kilos or 25 kilos, and you see that switch flip, like, and then they become a different person. Like they go, it's cool to be strong and to embrace that. I know when I started CrossFit, I was like, oh, I'm designed to shift heavy things. Like, I was never made to move fast. And then I got into powerlifting and strongwoman, and I was like, oh, that's cool. Like, it's cool to do this. Like, I'm allowed to do it. And you get so much confidence from, you know, operating in that space. But what I think is really cool in your story is that people might look at you and think, well, you didn't come out late in life because you knew from basically, you know, the moment you could comprehend, you knew what you were. But you did, in fact, like, own your identity later in life. And it took some time to get through that. And I think a lot of people struggle with that, is that we know internally who we are, and sometimes we still struggle with it, but we know. But it's then the living it externally is the big challenge, and taking that forward. And, you know, like yourself, many of us have, you know, self-medicated with either food or alcohol, and then it's like, shit, I'm in this giant hole. How do I get out of that?
Yeah. No, I think for so many people, like, why I feel like fitness is so important, I'm obviously sure you can relate to this as well, is that it does give you that. I tie in a lot of our clients, like, if you can almost behave an actual way to how you want to feel, like, you're pretty much there. If you want to feel stronger, you want to feel secure, you want to have that respect and love for yourself, well, that comes from obviously how you show up and the actions that you do every single day. So that, like, for me, like, when I kind of been through my fitness journey a little bit more when I was like 21, 22, that's when I finally had the confidence to tell my mum I was going on a date with a girl. And of course she was like, cool, have fun. But at that point I was like, right, like, now I'm at a place where I feel more secure in myself. I've worked on myself. I feel stronger. I feel like I can almost express that and vocalize that. Like, there's so much of these elements which, like, intertwine with each other, which is why my content and the way I work is so, like, hey, if you're a lesbian who wants to gain muscle and lose weight, like, you know, it, like, there's so much that kind of ties into the sexuality side of things. So I think once you have an understanding of how you want to feel, who you want to become, everything else becomes a lot easier and it becomes a lot clearer as well.
And one of the big themes, you know, I talk about a lot here is when you can live authentically as yourself and you can own that, it's quite freeing. But I also speak a lot about the cost of when you live inauthentically. And a lot of people don't talk about that. They're like, well, if I'm just hiding everything, then that's the only cost. But our bodies will manifest that in a million ways, like physically, you know, through weight or through the way that we look at the world or see the world, like our energy levels. There's a huge cost when we're living, you know, out of alignment with who we truly are. And when we can own our identity and go, well, this is me. And I have talked on this show, like, my wife is at the point in her life where she does not give a fuck if someone likes her or not. She doesn't need to be liked. She doesn't, it's fine for her. And that's still something that I work through, but she's like, oh, cool, you don't like me? That's cool. And she can happily then go about her day. And because she's done a lot of work to get to that point where she knows who she is, she knows what her values are. And if you don't like that, then that's cool. I don't need you around. And I think that's one of the big things is we get to when we're living in that space where we're not aligned, we don't know who we want around us. And sometimes, we settle for people that are maybe not great for us to have around us.
Yeah, for sure. It's really interesting you said that. I had like a call with somebody just before we hopped on, and with this person, like we spoke a lot about like stories that she had been telling herself ever since she like growing up, and it was often like she told herself like she was a lazy person, that she couldn't achieve anything because of stuff that happened when she was like really young. And it's almost like if we kind of tell ourselves about talk to ourselves in a way which doesn't align with who we want to become, we kind of just start living that. And I really like resonated with what you said there, because
it's very easy, isn't it? And I was listening to a podcast that Christine Blosdale did with Irene Riad, and she's like a psychologist person, and she's talking about if you listen to that voice that's telling you you're lazy or you're this or you're that, if you listen to it, you'll realize that it's actually not your voice. And if you sit there and listen and are open to it and go, whose is it? Oh, it's a mother, it's a friend, it's a teacher, it's all of those stories that we've been given, even as to what we believe, what football team you're supposed to support. Like all of that stuff is given to you. Like I didn't choose any of that. That was just handed to me. And then if you tune into it and you actually hear your own voice, which is much quieter, you're like, oh, that's not even mine. I can throw it away. I don't have to keep it. But because it's given to us from such a young age and repeated through, and then we retell the story, don't we? It's like, oh, well, I'm this way because I'm this sort of person.
Yeah.
Well, are you? You get to actually change it if you want to.
Yeah. And that's what I freaking love. I genuinely love like that we have all the ability and all the power to change things at any point in life. And I say it to all of our clients all the time, like, if you want to make 2025 your year, start freaking doing it. Like, so many people hold themselves back, like mentally, by things they tell themselves, like their sort of like beliefs they have about themselves, which aren't necessarily true. And a lot of the time, and that's what really kind of clicked for me when I was younger. It was literally one of my best friends, because I was like, oh, I want to go to the gym. I'm going to start on Monday. And you'll hear that quite a lot. I'll start on Monday. And my best friend at the time turned around to me and said, why don't you just start now? And that has always stuck with me. Even now, we're no longer like close, but it's always stuck with me. Why don't you just start now? Do something. Doesn't have to be perfect. Just do something. Change something. And I love that.
We trip ourselves up. And I know I've done it for years, is you let perfection or the quest for perfection or the right time get in the way of, what you're actually trying to do. Whereas you could walk, open your garage door, walk down to your mailbox and walk back. That's something. Yeah. It doesn't have to be, oh, well, I've got to wait for this to happen, this, and I join the gym. And like in my field in CrossFit, we would hear all the time, oh, I'll come and join when I get fit. Okay, I'm not fit enough to do that. That will get you fit. Like you can come and do it. Oh no, I've got to wait till I'm fit enough. Okay, how has wishing and waiting got you anywhere?
Yeah,
and we get in our own way, don't we?
Yeah, and I was gonna say that was me last year. I started CrossFit last year, and I was that person who was like, "Oh man, but like look at the way like CrossFitters are built. Like they're just born strong. Like they're flexible. They can do stuff on the rig." And I put off joining my like local CrossFit gym for ages because I felt like I wasn't a CrossFitter. And then I started doing, and it took me, to be fair, like I would admit, it took me a couple months to kind of find my groove with where I fit in and feeling comfortable. But now I walk up to the open gym and I'm like, I can power snatch, like I can do a pull up, and like you kind of, once you put yourself in those environments, you then start to become the person you've wanted. But a lot of people hold themselves back by even starting because they're like, I'm not that person yet. Like, of course you're not that person yet. That's fine.
Yeah, it's a journey, and it's, I talk to people a lot about having that aspirational identity that you want to be, so then you start being that person. So and we used to say a lot to the members in the gym, it's like people like us do things like this. So when you join that gym, you start eating better, sleeping better, doing all the things because that's what everyone around you is doing. So then you just start, creating that identity for yourself. And I'm the sort of person, if I'm a CrossFitter, then I'm the sort of person who does XYZ things, which I think is cool for people that are ready to embrace that growth phase rather than like, I'm not there yet, so I can't start. Well, if you don't start, you'll never get there. And that applies to whether you want to start a business, whether you want to take up a new hobby. It's not just in the fitness space, but it's when we talk about our journeys as like owning our identities and coming out. And I think, one of the key things I talk about a lot is that coming out doesn't just apply to your sexuality or your gender or anything like that. Every single human on this planet has to come out about something to themselves. And once you can own who you are, whatever it is that you've got, you then can just run into that fire for where you want to be.
Yeah, no, I love that. And like almost like that coming out aspect, like, because if I'm gonna think about it, like I even said this to my fiance like a few weeks ago. I was like, I've always felt like, because I've always been in the fitness space and I've loved it. I've almost kind of felt like my coming out was almost like to be an athlete, even though I'm not an athlete, like I'm not. But
Well, you are though, because you do athletic things. You are like,
yeah, you call me out on that one there. So yeah, even things like that, and it's almost like you can kind of pick your own identity and like almost like how you want to connect with something is how you want to connect with something. And so yeah, like I think that's really resonated with me. And yeah, thanks for calling me out because
gotcha.
where you touch yourself.
It is like, I mean, when I was a little fat kid from the bush. I'd never done anything athletic. I had trouble with my muscle development and coordination, and I never really developed the fast twitch muscle fibers when I was a kid. I could not run and jump like the other kids could. And, I tried to do the other fitness things that everyone else did and sucked miserably, like, 2 left feet when it comes to doing the stupid step routines and stuff. And then in CrossFit, like when I joined the gym and then I bought a shirt and it had the word athlete on the back and I went, oh, have you got one without that? Because that's like that. And they went, but you are an athlete. You're doing athletic things. You're doing gymnastics. You're doing, cardio. You're doing, and I'm like, oh, okay. And then when I put it on and then started to embrace that, I was like, well, that's true. And they're like, you competed today against everybody else in the class. You're an athlete. And I'm like, so then it was a real big switch to go, oh, well, I'm an athlete. I need to start doing things that athletes do. They eat well, they sleep well. And it's being able to catch yourself out on it, and you and I both know the power of having a coach to sit externally and catch yourself out on these things. Is that, why is that a struggle for you? Or why is that something that you're really hanging on to? Rather than me saying to you, if you follow these steps, this is how you're going to lose 10 kilos and, you're going to be amazing. We know that there's so much more underneath that, which comes from, the behaviors and the thoughts and those stories. And that's the power, I think, of what you offer to your clients and even what you put out on the socials is what, that stuff behind it. Like, it's, everyone knows what to eat and what to do. They know they need to eat more broccoli, drink more water, and go to the gym or work out. What's stopping you doing it? What are the things holding you back?
Yeah. And that's the stuff I love. Like we go into so much like depth and like mindset stuff with our clients because then they realize, it's not the fact that I have no accountability or I have no willpower. It's actually the fact it's maybe like the stories that I've told myself as a kid, or it's the fact that like I don't put myself in an environment which, reaps success. And it's kind of like those really kind of small things that maybe just, people don't really think about. And sometimes I don't even think about it. It's actually like, right, like, and I've got someone really, really like powerful in my corner. He's a guy called Ben Mark, and I freaking love him to bits because he's very good at calling me out. And he knows if I've been particularly quiet, it's not because I'm busy or I'm doing something. It's because he knows I'm in my own head about something. And he'll ring me and he'll say, why are you holding yourself back? And it just opens up this like I'm going through that pattern again of telling myself I'm not worthy of something or I can't do something. And when you have someone like that in your corner, like it will be the worst thing you'll ever have, because it's like, right, you're constantly challenged with this, right? Like, what am I not doing? What am I not, showing up for? What do I need to start doing more of? What can I start doing better of? And that's the exact person I want to be for my clients, to go, right, like, I know you so damn well. I know why you're holding yourself back. I know what it is that you need right now. And let's go freaking start doing that.
Yeah. And it's a powerful conversation when someone knows what you're not saying, even though you seem to be talking a lot, and you're telling them stuff and they're like, yeah, but what about this? Why is this? And it only has to be, and I've, you know, had that experience of an incredibly powerful coaching relationship where, you know, you can write something and they'll just pick bits out of it about what you're not actually saying out loud, and they go, let's talk about this. You know, and I've talked heaps on this podcast how my business coaches were the first people I really came out to. And they were like, glad you got here. We've been waiting for you. Thanks for coming. And you're like, oh, okay, that was a bit. And then, you know, I said to them that I think I'm gay. And then the next week they actually said, we need you to say I am gay. And they're like, well, I told you last week. Like, there were tears, everyone cried. It was all warm and fuzzy. Like, no, you need to own it. And I was like, oh, okay, good question.
Different ballgame, yeah.
Yeah, fair play. But when you can actually, like, as humans, it's not in our nature. We like to avoid discomfort.
Yeah.
That's just how we're wired. And having someone to sit across the table and keep you accountable. And, you know, some of my clients joke about holding their feet to the fire, and they'll, you know, I might see them post on socials and I'll just send them a little message with feet and flame emojis. And they're like, damn it, I did it again, didn't I? We're like, see you on a call this week. And like, because they'll know, but having that keeps them accountable to confront that difficult stuff in a appropriate and you know, it's overused but safe manner, in that I'm only asking the question because I'm invested in you being authentic and getting the most you can from yourself, not just because of you pay me for this service.
Yeah, 100%. And it's an incredibly powerful thing to be able to do, and it's also incredibly difficult because that other person has to be willing. And like, I can't tell you the amount of clients, you probably had this, but the amount of clients who aren't in a position to want to hear that, or who maybe just don't have the vulnerability to go, or the responsibility to go, actually, yeah, you're right. And instead, you know, chuck the excuses, they chuck the, oh no, I'm fine, or I don't need this, or like, you know, and you and me probably both know, but we can read like a lot more than that, and we're like, right, we understand what's going on, something's holding you back.
Yep.
That you know, you have to be in a position where you're open to that, and you have to be able to take responsibility for that, and that's one of probably the most difficult things. Like, you know, you've probably found yourself, and I definitely have, being a coach, is that you can coach the fuck out of somebody, but if somebody's not willing to listen and sit with it and reflect, then
yeah, it's not going to work. I mean, I can stand there with the light and, you know, be ready to walk the path with you, but if you're not going to take that first step, it's, you know, I can't walk it for you. If I walk, I'm going to be miles ahead of you. Like, it's your path. Like, I'm not going to tell you what to do. I'm not going to give you a quick fix solution, but you've actually got to be willing to walk the path. And, you know, I've been talking a lot, even on my socials, like, if you just want warm and fuzzy hugs, I'm not the coach for you. But I will support you and guide you, and we'll walk the path together, but we'll have hard conversations along the way. And I'll be your biggest cheerleader, but I'm not just going to blow smoke up your ass and tell you everything's wonderful while you just so I can keep getting paid and you spit on the spot. That's not what it's about. So I guess to dig into a little bit more of your, you know, journey as you know, got into the fitness space and started working as a coach, particularly with your offer that you very much target towards, you know, lesbians and women in the LGBTQI space. How has that been received, or, you know, how's that journey been for you? As in, you know, fitness is often perceived as a very male, very testosterone driven thing. Like, you know, I know when I first started coaching CrossFit, it was a bit of a challenge, particularly also being a female affiliate owner. That was a big thing. So any sort of challenges you've had along the way, particularly that you've almost narrowed so specifically on the people that you want to work with and can help the best?
Yeah, No, it's a good like area of discussion, and like I think one thing that I found this past year has been a massive, massive learning curve, because it's only probably been the past year where like I've had this idea for years, right? But I held myself back from it because I thought, oh, no one's gonna listen to me. What's the point? Blah blah blah. So this past year has been like a massive journey of me kind of figuring out like, right, like how can I properly help people? What is it that people need and want? And like, yes, there's been tons of straight men in the comments go, what's the point of this? Like, does it make sense? And it's like, it doesn't make sense because you're not part of the community. Like, on the flip side of that, I've had so many queer women come to me who message me and just say, hey, like, thank you for providing this space and this community of people who understand and who get it. Because I will admit, like, I probably had in my head, because it's always something, because I really struggled with my relationship with food. My default was women just want to lose weight. They want to lose body fat. And with the sort of clients I used to work with, that was typically 95% of my clients were like, I want to lose 20 pounds. I want to feel good in a bikini. I want to look like, I want to have that figure. And like, that's great. And like, one thing that I've massively seen with queer women the past year is how many of them just want to get strong as fuck and build muscle. And like, I love that, because actually, like, it's probably like it's something that I'm now working towards, but it's something I've always wanted to achieve. But it's often been covered by this whole, women, do your cardio, lose weight, look stick
Yeah,
thin, fit in the size 10 jeans. And actually, for a lot of queer women who just want to show up strong and confident and own space and take up space, we don't want to have to reduce down to something. We want to fucking push those doors open and go, here I am. Like,
yeah.
look at me, sort of thing. So I think for me, that's been um, a really kind of important learning curve. And not a learning curve, but it's been really eye-opening, actually, how many queer women just want to be strong and visible. And I
Yep.
freaking love that. I love it so much.
It's so cool when, quite often in the traditional Globo gym space, and it happened to me when I first started, training, you'd go down to the squat racks and all the big guys are there and they look at you like, are you lost, love? And I went down, I was training for a powerlifting thing, and I just happened to have to go to a Globo gym one day, and I went down, this dude goes like, oh, you lost? I said, no, wait, it's fine. And then there were 60 kilos on the bar, or 80 kilos, something ridiculous for a dude to even be lifting. And he's, oh, do you need me to take the plates off? I go, no, that's actually my first warm-up set. They'll be fine.
Love that, yeah.
And he's like, right. And he stood there and watched, and I thought, don't fuck this up. Like, get these, I made the lifts good depth, straight up and down. I like, because women were too scared to go down and use the big barbells and be strong. They had the little pump bars and the little pretty weights and stuff. And now you see women down in that section embracing it. And I love the fact, like, when people would come to the gym and they'd say to me, so I just want to lose 5 kilos, 10 kilos. And you're like, oh, okay, cool. That was the standard thing. But once you dug further into that, like, okay, why does that matter to you? Why is that important? Oh, well, I just want to have a bit more energy. Oh, why do you want that? Oh, well, my partner doesn't find me attractive, or I don't like to get undressed with the lights on, and we haven't had sex in 3 years. You're like, it's not about the 5 or 10 kilos. It's about this. And I think particularly as queer women, and we're embracing our strength, that makes us feel like more worthy, and that we can deal with some of the other hard things that come along our way by having that strength and feeling like, yep, I could pull pull myself out of a burning building. Like, I remember going to the gym once, and all the girls in their, fancy leggings at the step class were I just wore my comfy shorts and shirt and rocked in, and they were sort of looking and laughing. I thought, dude, if this gym collapsed, I could pull you bitches out of here in 5 minutes. You could not do anything to help me. And I just that was a moment I felt like I'm starting to own who I am, and that it's okay to be strong, and I don't have to look like everybody else.
Yeah. No, I love that. And like, I've started to get to pace myself. Like, I love being not the different one in the gym, but like almost just like, even when it comes down to like almost like owning what you wear in the gym, because even like when I was younger and I first started going to the gym, you'd see the girls in the matching Gymshark leggings and top and the sports bra, and it's all like pink and purple and it matches. I was literally there in a hoodie, pair of shorts, and a cap, and I
Yeah.
love that. And like, it's almost this like idea of kind of owning the way you want to show up in those environments, because again, it has been so typically dominated by either the bodybuilder man on gear, training hard, watching himself pose in the mirror, or the Gymshark girls who are just on the treadmill
Mm.
watching a YouTube video, just trying to make time go faster. And
Mm.
so there's such a power in like creating your own space and your own identity and appearance in those environments, because then you can craft that around
Mm.
everything else.
And I think you're a fantastic role model for showing people that it's okay to show up however you are comfortable in that. And, some of your stuff that you put out, like you'll say, hey, if you feel like you're more mask presenting and you want to get great arms, I can help you. And if you want to be more femme and leaner, then this is what we can do. But it's not, you're talking to what the particular person, might want to help their identity, not for any other purpose. Like, this is going to make you feel strong and confident. And you know that, like, you're, helping someone develop their arms if that's what they want. Like, that's going to be, whether you're gay or straight, that program is going to work for you. But it's helping people feel confident in their identity. And that's, I mean, I might be wrong, but that's what I've picked up from your content, is that this is about you being confident in what you want to achieve. And it's okay for you to want these things as well.
Yeah, 100% acceptance, that like relatability, and that ability to actually like, cool, like why is building muscle important for you? I want
Mm.
to feel strong. I want to feel comfortable in who I am. I want to feel good in clothes. I want to put myself out there to meet people. Like, I don't want to feel lonely anymore. That's been a big one that I've heard a lot from clients who've jumped on board. Like, they feel so isolated because they
Mm.
don't have people around them that get it, that understand why they want to go to the gym and get strong and create a shape which feels good on them.
Mm.
Like, and it's just about building that community and having those people around you who just get it, who are like, yeah, actually, like, what do you lift? Oh, I
Mm.
do that. Oh, amazing. Like, it's that relatability and that connection, which I think is so
Mm.
important. And like, yeah, you're right. Like, the training side of things, the nutrition side of things, like, yes, it doesn't matter if you're gay or straight, but the understanding, the why, the
Mm.
relatability, the community, that's the important stuff. And that's what people need, I think. And so many people, like, but like, a couple of years ago when I was training everyone under the sun, like, I didn't feel connected to my clients. Like,
Mm.
I was just like, hey, here's your training, here's your nutrition. Yes, I can help you lose the weight. But there was no like, wow, like, I kind of understand why they want to do it. But now with my clients, I'm so connected. I understand it. I know them inside out. I get it. I kind of have that like X-ray depth of who
Yep.
they are, who they want to be. And that's the difference.
Yeah. And that's huge. And, even from a business perspective, and we talk to, people get talked at all the time about find your ideal client avatar and find your demographic. But I think a lot of people are, and I've been in this space where you're too scared because you haven't owned your own identity yet to go directly after the people that you can help the most. And you're right, you could help anyone get strong and fit and toned, but who can you help the best? And to do that, you had to own who Izzy is and what Izzy wants, and to have that true understanding. And that's been kind of my journey through doing this podcast and talking about my journey of coming out late in life and the struggles that came with that, is that, now I know who are the people I'm here to serve, and that, and who I can help anyone with their mindset and their behaviors and their life. But who can I really dig in with when it comes to understanding the power of that transformation and change? So I think that that's awesome that you have been able to own your own identity first, so that you can then help other people get to that same point themselves, because you know the struggles.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly that. And like, it's taken me a good couple of years to kind of like learn about myself, push myself, like accept things about myself, and also stop telling myself things as well. And that's the beauty of it. And like,
Mm.
I tell my clients what my goals are. I tell them what I'm doing, because I understand a lot of them look up to me, but also like, I'm human as well. And like, I'm on
Mm.
a journey. I'm trying to improve. I've got things I want to do. Like, I want to be someone. I mean, I want to be that better version of me, and like that's the beauty and the fun of it. And it's not, hey, I've done this, I'm perfect, now it's your turn. It's actually like, hey, like we're in this together kind of thing. I've got
And
all this experience, all these mistakes.
So powerful. That is so powerful that, you know, there are so many gurus out there in the space that will put themselves up as like, you know, the perfect figure, the perfect shape, follow my plan, you'll get the perfect results. But there's no connection or relatability there. And that makes it really hard when you're a client. Like, well, I could never get to this level, so therefore, like it's unattainable. And you then go into that cycle of feeling like a failure, something else hasn't worked. If this program worked for that person, why isn't it working for me? But there's all this other stuff behind it. And particularly in the queer space as well, if you don't feel like that the person you're working with as a coach, because as we talked about earlier, you have to get into the nitty-gritty, you can't be open and vulnerable. If you can't be honest with them because you don't think they'll get it, then it's going to be nearly impossible for you to have a great or a long working relationship or any progress even, because you're only going to let them see a tiny part of you and not all these other things that contribute.
Yeah, 100%. And like it comes from asking like the right questions and knowing, like I've spoken to enough people on calls to kind of find out when someone's like surface level, when someone's really opening up. And it's about, as a coach, like asking those good questions. Like if you want a good answer, ask a good question. So it's about kind of uncovering that and making sure that like, you know, like when I jump on calls with people, it's not to offer them a space on the program. It's to find out, hey, like, could we help? Are we a good fit? Do you feel happy? Do we both feel happy and safe? Because I want to find out some deep shit about you, like not in a weird way, because I actually want to understand you better. So I know how you hold yourself back, how you can start pushing yourself to move forward, and I can hold you accountable doing that. And so, yeah, I think that, you know, ability for, I'm like, yeah, I just love working with good people because it just makes everything so much more fun and real and exciting.
Yeah. And it like when you get someone it's a real partnership and you're, you know, digging in with them and you can see the switches keep flicking and the steps they keep taking, like it's incredibly powerful to be a part of that journey and sit on the other side of the screen from that person or, you know, the desk or whatever, and see where they started and then, you know, the big steps that they've taken, that we've been able to create a space that they could own those parts of themselves. It's really, really powerful.
Yeah, 100%. And like one of my like favorite client journeys came from one of my clients who literally started off was like, hey, just want to lose. She was actually, I just want to lose 5 kilos. I want to feel a bit more confident. And I kind of knew there was more under that surface, but we kind of took it as we went along, like the coaching journey. You know, she ended up sort of leaving a job position where she was getting spoken down to a lot by colleagues. She wasn't feeling like happy where she was working. She ended up moving countries, ended up getting a promotion, and like through the weight loss side of things and her developing that confidence and strength in her body, she was able to like come out to more of her family. She ended up in a healthy relationship. She ended up freaking like, I watched her on the telly the other day because she had the confidence to push herself for like an opportunity within her career, that something, you know, that was something she'd always dreamed of. And like that for me, what it's about, it's not the, hey, I want to lose 5 kilos. It's the, right, what is this 5 kilos going to allow me to do? What's it going to push me to want? What am I going to start showing up for? How am I going to start expressing myself? So whether it's a relationship, a job opportunity, like a career, like being able to express in clothes, I wouldn't matter what it is. That's the stuff I love seeing, not the oh, hey, I'm down 2 pounds. Like that for me is like, okay, cool.
Yeah.
Fine.
Yeah, I used to feel that a lot. You know, people when they came in, oh, you know, I PR'd my back squat. Yeah, I know you would. Like if you follow the program, I know what's going to happen. But when they come and say, hey, I just climbed, you know, went on a mountain walk last week with my kids. Fuck yeah, that's exciting. Or, hey, I just asked for a promotion or I asked for a pay raise. And I got it. I had the confidence to do that. Fuck yeah, well done. That's the stuff. You're right. That's what gets us, a real coach, excited rather than just someone who's punching out cookie cutter templates and, for $5 a week, and they don't really care whether you follow it or not. You can give them an arbitrary check-in, and that's all they're interested in. So I guess for you, as you're evolving on your journey as as a coach and in your own life and your own journey, what do you think has been the biggest growth point for you since you've go, okay, this is who I am. I'm a gay woman. And this is a space I want to work in. What's been the biggest sort of growth that you think for you that's let you move forward?
I think for me, it was probably a couple months ago where like I had all this content go viral, and I had people like James Smith calling me out, making like shit parody videos, and I was like, there was a moment where I was like, right, like, do I want to do this? Should I be doing this? And I went out that morning. I saw the videos. I went out on a run, and I was like thinking about it. I was like, but like, why can't I do it? And I think a lot of it for me, especially this year, has been about like, why not me? Like, why can't I be that person? Why can't I have that success? Why can't I be the person to build the team, build the community, build the business? So I think a lot of my maybe like sort of like mental growth the past couple of months has actually been for me being like, well, why not? And like, actually just like I'm a massive kid at heart, so like I'd love having fun. Like I dance around the house all the time. I like do fucking weird accents all the time. So like it almost for me, a big part of my growth has been from just letting go a little bit and just going, right, like, why can't I just have some fun with this? Why can't I create some funny content? Why can't I, be myself in videos? And like a big one for me has actually been the last like couple of videos that I've made. I've actually just been more myself and not been like, hey, if you want to grow your arms, do these for exercise, and just been so generic. It's actually been, hey, like, this is actually me behind the scenes. This is what I'm actually like. You're going to get me. You're going to get a coach who cares about you, who's really invested, who can give you the tough stuff, challenge you, push you, but also someone who's a massive kid who wants to have fun, who has like a lot of excitement in life for like different things. So a big part of my growth has just actually just been letting go a little bit. I think it's been a massive one.
And I think that's a really powerful lesson for like anyone who listens to this, is understanding that. And it's funny, early in the relationship with my wife, she said, I play golf, and it was like frustrating the absolute crap out. Like I wasn't enjoying it. She's like, well, why don't you just be silly and have fun? I went, that's not me. I'm always very like, that's not what I do. She goes, but just be silly. And and it really made me think about that, going, oh, I don't think I've ever done that in my entire life. Like just, done something random. And for a lot of people who listen to this, like I think there's many of us who have done the same thing and like don't let go, and they have this persona, like if I'm a fitness professional, this is how I have to be. But I remember, and I'll probably try and find it and insert it into the episode here, one of the first clips I saw of yours was, hey lesbians, this is why you can't lose weight. And it was just, and it was you eating out around the place, like meals. And I totally, if you know, you got the pun. And I was like, oh my God, who puts that? Who does that? Like at first I was like, wow, that's really fucking brave to put that content out there. But then it's like, honest, it's and it was you having fun and you being real. Like it was super, like when after I got over the initial, like, oh, I could never do something like that, I was like, fuck, that is so cool.
Yeah.
And we could all do with a bit more of being able to be, that. Like I've just started in my content putting, I'll take, my phone is ridiculous. I've got a million selfies of like doing facial expressions that I can use on my content. Now that's something I've never ever done before, but I'm like, well, I'm just going to do it and see what happens, because I need to, if I'm telling people about being authentic, then I need to be authentic and put my face to things instead of just hiding behind a colored image kind of thing.
Yeah. And like I was really worried about doing that type of content because I didn't want to come across as this like this seedy, like weird person. But there's so much fun to be had. Like, since I'm so generic, but there's so much fun to be had in life, and like I can't stand being serious all the time. Like, yeah, I am very black and white. I'm very straight to the point. Like, I am a very no bullshit person, but I also very much just want to have fun. It's like if you're not having fun, you're not doing it properly. So
Yeah.
I love coming up with all these ideas of right, like, okay, what can I make really, really catching and relatable to the lesbian community, but also get them thinking about something as well. So
Yeah.
yeah, I don't want to blend in. I don't want to be generic. I want to have an impact. I want to have some fun doing it.
And there's, so many people who are generic. So, we need more Izzy Wagners in the world, I think, putting out honest content that's, and that post was so well done. It wasn't tacky. It wasn't like clickbaity. It was genuinely funny. And, I sent it to a trainer friend of mine and they're like, oh my God, well, you've just fucked my algorithm for a start. But that is the best reel I've seen today. I said, dude, you got to follow her content. It's amazing. And I said, I aspire to have that level of, fun with my stuff. And like my wife, she's naturally very funny. Like for TikTok stuff and everything, I'm like, I'm not doing the stupid dances. I can't do that. Like it's, and she was out cooking the barbecue one day and she said, I've got an idea for a video. And she came out here and she's like, she was cooking a sausage or something. And it was a video. She said, here, record this. And it was something about, this is the only sausage I have to worry about, eating, and just took a bite of this sausage that she cooked on the barbecue. And I'm like, but I could never have done that. Like that is not my nature, but that is her nature.
Yeah.
But I'm like, well, how can I find a way that's me to have fun with things as well and to talk about that? So that's my goal for this year, is to get better at that and to be a bit freer. So, I love what you said about, letting go of some of the rules. And I think that the people who pull apart the content that you put out there, they're coming at it from a place of their own insecurities.
Yeah, 100%.
Because like the people that you have talked about that, gave you a hard time, or you've seen the video parodies, like they're too scared to actually let go and do something honest as well.
Yeah, and like what I don't get about that is like, why don't you try and build a community like this? Like,
Yeah.
it baffles me when there's like, I mean, like me and my friends spoke about it a lot, and like there's a lot of sexism involved in this because I know a lot of like male gay trainers who say I only coach gay men, which is totally fine, totally cool, whatever, but they get no shit on their comments. And so I think a lot of it comes down to the fact that I am a woman. And so when it comes to like those comments in those videos, I'm like, why are you not trying to make a community? Like having a community can be the most powerful thing for your business. When other coaches are like tearing me down or being like, but scientifically lesbians don't need anything different. It's like, yeah, no shit, mate. Like no shit. But like, why aren't you going out there and building your own community, building something which is supporting somebody, not tearing them down? So like, that's just one thing I don't understand about any of the hate, because it doesn't make any sense to me at all.
Yeah, if you use your platform for good, and like we touched on earlier in the episode, the training and the diet, nutrition, it doesn't matter whether you're gay, straight, or somewhere in between. It's going to work for you. But people want someone to work with somebody that feels like they get them. And if you see that person putting out, videos and content, you're like, well, I'm sure your program's great, but you won't like me because I'm this sort of person. And I've already seen the way you talk about these sort of people. Whereas when you see someone's content and you know that they're just being themselves and they're talking about something because it matters to them and they care about it, and they, like, when I put stuff out, I don't put it out because I want you to join up as a client. I put it out because I want you to get something from it, because I care about you as a person, even though I've never met you, that you can understand, the power of change. And I want you to get something from that. Even if we never meet, you never work with me, that's cool. But can I give you something that gives you value, rather than spending all day creating stuff that's clickbait, that's just designed to pull someone else down? And you're right, I don't understand that. And they don't realize how much they're shooting themselves in the foot, that the people aren't necessarily going to want to work. They might click on it, they might watch it, which is what they want for their views and everything else, but they're not going to have a long-term relationship. And maybe even some of their existing clients see it and go, oh, well, better not tell him that I like women, because that's going to be weird now.
Yeah, that is such a huge one. And like a lot of like the big names in the industry who have said stuff, I've bought their content, I've been to their talks, I've got their books, and now I'm like, actually, you're a really shit human.
Yeah.
And that's been really eye-opening. So actually, like me kind of going through my feed and being like, all right, cool, like, well, why would I want to support you when I know actually you're a shit human? You don't support
Mm,
other businesses, other coaches who you're in the same industry as well. Like we're all
mm,
here trying to help people at the end of the day. Like
yep.
no matter which way
And,
you do it, like that's
and
our own.
there's enough clients for everybody. Like that, it's
Yeah,
that
yeah.
scarcity thing. And there's that saying that if you want to, go fast, go alone. But if you want to go far, go together.
Mm,
And when I had my physical gym open, and you'd see other gyms like trying to poach members and compete against me, I'm like, there are 200,000 people that live in this suburb. I really want 100 of them. You
yeah,
probably really want 100 of them. There's more than enough for all of us.
yeah,
Why do you have to be a dirtbag about it? And in the online space, there's however many billion people in the world. There's plenty for what you need. And there's, if you genuinely care about people, you'll always, if you're doing, as Greg Glassman says, the right things for the right reasons,
mm,
then you're going to have enough of what you need, rather than I don't need to push you down to elevate me, because that's not a sustainable way to be. So I think that's an awesome perspective you have about also going through your feed and going, I don't think you're a good human. I'm going to take you out of my feed. That's
yeah.
it. Yeah, not following that. So thank you for your time today. I've really enjoyed this discussion. I don't often get
Me
to
too. Yeah,
sort of talk to other people who are in the queer space, but doing work around the fitness space and having, similar challenges and changes. So I think that this is powerful for, the people who listen to this as well. And I'm going to put your handles in the show notes for people to head over and follow you, because I think that if anything, it's something that makes them think, every day, and they might learn something and just change the way that they think about things and approach their goals, and realize that, we're in control of wherever we want to go, whatever we want to be. So thank you for the work you do. Thank you for being authentically
you.
you and showing up. I love it. I've appreciated your time today.
Thank you very much. It's been an absolute pleasure.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Izzy.
Thank you. Bye.